Thank you for listening to this PodcastOne production. Now available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, PodcastOne.com, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.
Steve Austin Show is brought to you free today by our friends at BetOnline. With currently no NBA, NHL, or MLB, you might think there's nothing to bet on. Well, you'd be wrong. There's still mixed martial arts. I just got finished watching UFC Fight Night as I'm recording this podcast. Esports, American Idol, the elections, the spelling bee, and even the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. Get in the mix at betonline.ag and use the promo code PodcastOne for your 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts and exclusive partner of PodcastOne Sportsnet.
PodcastOne presents the Steve Austin Show Classics.
David Lee Roth, the legendary frontman, lead singer from Van Halen. Brother, welcome to the show.
Oh, live in front of your naked, steaming eyes, I'm in the company of royalty. I feel it even over the magnetic waves as we transmit Stone Cold. It's really a pleasure to be here. You are my first professional wrestling entertainment hero ever that I've ever really sat down around the campfire with. This is quite a special, and it's the full moon. No coincidence there. This is special for me.
I'll tell you what, man, I'm in Los Angeles. You're calling from New York City, right?
I've come from everywhere. I live at 36,000 feet and 600 miles an hour. I spent the last year living in Tokyo, of all places. And did I hear that you have your dog at your feet? I travel with my Australian cattle doggy Russell here. He travels with me all over the world, etc. And I'm kind of a wanderer. You know, a little bit of a traveler. But you know what? Plenty of professional wrestling on the television in Tokyo. All the regular shows are there. And here, let you in a little secret. All rock stars, at least in hard rock and heavy metal, wish they looked like you and could push a button and become you at least one weekend a month. Did you know that?
Well, you know, due to those people, they got a chance to live vicariously through the action of Stone Cold Steve Austin, and it was a good thing to be Stone Cold because I had a lot of fun doing that that job. I want to drop a story on you real quick. It goes back to 1989, 1990. I was just breaking into business in Dallas, Texas. I'd been training for about 2 months. The heels were beating the shit out of me. Finally, I told the promoter, when can I start working full time? He says, I think you're ready. So I was driving my ass down to Tennessee, and there I was, and I started out, and I was a babyface. I was a good guy. I had long blonde hair, had a pretty good physique, long, colorful tights, and I was out there, and it really sucks when you don't really have a lot of talent yet, and you're green in the business, and presentation is everything, and certainly a great entrance is a big part of who and what you are in the statement that you're trying to make. And I didn't have any entrance music because I was that green rookie. And I was noticing all these guys walk to the ring in 1990 in all the Tennessee territory, and I had to walk out to a symphony of silence. That's very hard. That does not instill any confidence. So being the big Van Halen fan that I am and was at the time, I figured, man, I got to have something cool that hits hard and just starts in with some aggression as a cool tune. So I said, I got it. So I basically got my little cassette recorder, recorded Unchained, and I handed it to the guy at the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis. I said, hey, man, when they call my name, play this song. And he looked at me, and he said, you don't deserve to have any music being played before you come out there. And, you know, basically, you know, my career's on the line. I'm a rookie, greener than a sumbitch in the business. This guy's going to tell me I don't deserve music. Anyway, I conned him into playing the music. I came out to Unchained, and I was still green, but I had a badass song going for me. So I have that to owe you. And then about a year and a half later, I turned heel. I turned into a bad guy. I returned to Dallas, Texas to take on my mentor in a student versus teacher angle. Well, I needed something wicked, bad, cool, tough. So I came out with Running with the Devil, another classic VH tune. So, brother, you and me go way back, and though we've never met, we've got to do this show one of these days in person. I need to come do the Roth Show with you so we can sit down and shoot the shit together.
Well, these kinds of songs, as you just described, have a wicked sense of humor and real sharp teeth at the same time, just like real people. A lot of times, this kind of hard rock serves you up a one-dimensional kind of a cartoon where it's all just happy or it's all just angry, mid-level fury, we'll call it. And with Van Halen music, there's a kind of a dark sense of humor to it that frankly, a whole lot of people have literally marched off to war to that music. A whole lot of people have celebrated with great big smiles. A whole lot of relationships were consummated, and a whole lot of families were started to that music, and a whole lot of punches were thrown to that music as well. It's great verb music. Stirs up the metabolism. Anything from fried chicken, pickles, and iced tea in a thermos on a picnic, all the way up to a fist-to-face confrontation, 12 rounds of genuine hilarity in the ring. Van Halen music works perfectly for it. It's better than coffee, actually. Well, and you can't OD on it. I encourage you to overdose.
But break it down for me. You're going to sit down and write a tune. What's the motivation? Does it happen at once? Do you think about something that just pops in your mind and you get the proverbial napkin at the diner and just it writes itself in 5 minutes? Take me through your songwriting process, because I'm dying to know how you did this.
9 times out of 10, if somebody tells you that they were just sitting in the middle of the room and it just sort of came to them, it arrives at Moon in June, rhymes with spoon. When's that going to happen? Sometime soon. Oh, excellent. Write that shit down. And it becomes alarmingly familiar. I'm always collecting. I take an approach that is closer to the way a script writer does it, okay? The way somebody who writes for film or somebody who's a novelist, okay, like somebody who writes, for example, The Bourne Supremacy, the fellow who wrote those books. You're constantly listening to other people's conversations and writing down little bits and pieces. In fact, somebody might say that thing, little bits and pieces, I'll write that phrase down. You follow? And right. I'll see little things in bumper stickers. I saw a bumper sticker when I was in Texas not terribly long ago. It said, "No talent, no skills, just heart." All right. Well, there's a story there. It's a story about the guy driving that truck. That's a song waiting to be made, and it certainly sounds like a title, if not one of the lyrics. Okay. I heard somebody say on another television show, "Honey, I ain't real smart, but I can lift heavy things." Well, now that goes in the book, and that's certainly one of the lines in our new song called "No Talent, No Skills, Just Heart." And you start to build it the way you might build a big, good argument before you have it. You know, you can start months and months and months of that. So I've always got a notebook. I'm always collecting. I'm always walking real slow. And with my dog, I have a cattle dog. He's got real short little legs. And when you walk him before he gets to the trot, you have to walk so slow. And so nobody questions why me, I'm walking so slow past people having conversations, you follow? Because without the dog, I just look scary. What's he doing? With the dog, well, shit, he's just walking the dog.
Dude, what's on your reading list? 'Cause I was listening to a lot of your interviews. Of course, I followed your career, forever, of course. But anyway, and listen to you describe, professional wrestling. I didn't know you started doing your broadcasting show called The Roth Show. And it is your epic broadcasting career. And this is all you can go to.
That's not his, ladies and gentlemen.
I couldn't think of nothing that eloquent.
Do we call it what do we call it, a blog or whatever?
That's what I wanted to know. What do we call it?
In its infancy steps.
In its infancy steps, but if you go to davidleeroth.com and check out The Roth Show, listeners to this particular show will be interested in episodes 15 and 16 because you do a couple of segments, 35-minute segments, on the history of professional wrestling. So that's why you got to check out The Roth Show. And for my audience, start with 15 and 16, then check out the rest. Dude, so what was when you decided to start doing this epic broadcast, what was the motivating factor here? Because you said, and I was listening to you on the Joe Rogan show, you said you love to broadcast. Is it just reaching out and entertaining your fans? Is it a creative outlet for you? Because I've often told Mo and some of the other cats here that, man, I got into podcasting just so I could use this as a forum to unleash my creativity or some energy that I used to unleash, on Monday Night Raw. So what was the motivation behind you with everything that you've got going, starting this epic broadcast?
It's an excellent question. According to my sisters, I never was much good at listening in the first place.
Oh, come on, David.
So speaking at length ain't much of a hurdle, Stephen.
Well, hey, let me ask you something.
Watch this. They're the two words that'll be on my gravestone. How long can he go? Long.
Well, okay, but what was the motivating factor? Answer me that.
I love broadcasting because I grew up with it.
Gotcha.
And I grew up with it when there were three distinct different kinds of broadcasting voices available to me. The very first, of course, was screaming boss jock, top 40 wrecking crew. Hey, hopping and popping and popping with the best bet for the boss beat at the top of the pop smash goal. I'm here with, and you would imitate that
right
before you were a teenager and try and get those voices. Okay, and then you had underground radio, you dig, and hey, that's very informal. It's like acting, but not acting. Do you follow? Like, you know from acting how difficult it is not to make faces, not to wink, not to use your elbow to show that it's a joke. Just stop fucking around. Like all our favorite actors, the Clint Eastwoods
right.
and the Chuck Bronsons, you know, and the Nick and the De Niros and stuff. They're not acting. And that's what underground radio was. They dropped the top 40 entirely. And then you had the third and my favorite, which was all the jazz DJs who were, we didn't know it, but they were heroin addicts. And they talked like this. And that later, of course, became the Sylvester Stallone voice. You know what I mean, Steve. You know what I mean. Don't laugh. Those three syllables. I wish I had a house like that.
So what voice are you?
Career built on three fucking syllables. I wish I could do. You know.
But what? So your broadcast? How would you define your broadcasting voice on the show then?
It ranges. It depends on the excitement level,
right.
And it depends on what it is we're discussing. You follow, and if it's it's not a civics lesson, so you're going to use your voice to drop that and get people to think. It's, you know what it's really like? It's kind of like you went on a camp out, and I'm your dad's best friend from the Marines, the one your mom doesn't like, and it's after dinner, and I go, hey, you kids want to hear some really good stories? Come here, sit down. Let me tell you about Angola. And the stories are a little bit scary, but really fucking cool. And some of it is just impossible to believe, but that's the coolest part. And then I show you a tattoo and a scar, and you believe it all, kind of more. That's how I approach it a little bit, you know. We even use the angles when we shoot it. We put that camera down a little bit low. So it's like you're sitting Indian style around. Mr. Roth, tell us about when you were stationed in Angola.
Hey, but in the history of professional wrestling, episodes 1 and 2, which is episodes 15 and 16 on the Roth Show, are you breaking this down just totally off script? Are you reading monitors? Are you recalling this?
No.
Have you written this? Just, hey, because you can't just remember all this shit off the top of your head. Or can you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of broke down pro wrestling. You said it's the ultimate wish fulfillment.
Oh, sure. Well, you know, it is the face-to-face confrontation. I'm writing a song about wrestling called Stomping Grounds.
I dig it.
And even right there,
you want to do a duet?
You got 5 different meanings for the title. There's a potential there for that.
But hey, going back to what you were talking about, you talk about today's current professional wrestling product. If you're looking at what's going on now as compared to, the heyday 70s, 80s, what's the biggest difference you see? Other than, obviously, as you note in the Roth Show, episode 15 and 16, production values.
Oh, beyond the production values, it's the athleticism.
Right.
Is that you have unbelievable physical types, the diets, the training, go back and watch Pumping Iron. compared to what's going to be on the stage for the Mr. Olympia or the Miss Olympia even this year. It's like two different worlds. Compare the G.I. Joe action figure from the 1960s to the current one today. It's right there. And with that comes increased performance values, increased, I'm a fan, of course, of the aerial, the moonsault off the top rope. And, I grew up with Jimmy Snuka and, this kind of material. I'm seeing routines now, even the imports are getting involved. You're getting fellas who are coming in from South America and Europe who are doing unbelievable stuff that only the Fantastic Four used to be able to do.
And it's great for those guys to be able to do that, but you got to have the psychology involved in there, because if it's just a bunch of guys flipping around for the sake of flipping around and it doesn't make sense, or it's gratuitous flipping around for the sake of it, then it doesn't make sense. So I love the high-flying, the aerial stuff too, but it's got to be with the psychology of the match. Agreed?
Well, you know what? I think you're really accurate there. And what has really developed, and you were a big part of when it really kicked into gear, when somebody dropped the lever on the nitrous canister, and all of a sudden that extra 15% kicked in and the whole car lurched ahead, was, when the theater, I'll call it, the stagecraft of what's going on up there. All your best rock bands also have, behind the scenes, what all the antics that take place behind the stage at the hotel,
right.
All the antics that take place in the recording studio are the equivalent of all of those interstitials, I think they're called, that happen in between the actual matches on television, and it's a good long argument about which is more entertaining and which is more important.
Right.
The
Exactly.
actual match or the stagecraft in the theater. It's one of those Buddhist questions. Which is more important, the peanut butter or the chocolate in a peanut butter cup?
And at the end of
your answer,
but at the end of the day, you got to make sure whatever it was, you got to give that person who bought that ticket their money's worth. I'm talking to David Lee Roth. We're talking about professional wrestling. You recognize the physical punishment of the business, David, in episodes 15 and 16 of the Roth Show. I recognize the physicality of the way you performed as the front man for Van Halen. We're going to come back. I'm talking to David Lee Roth, the one and only.
You're listening to another classic episode of The Steve Austin Show, only on PodcastOne.
Hey, man, do you own or rent your home? Sure you do, and I bet it can be hard work. You know what's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowners or renters insurance along with your auto policy. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. Go to geico.com. Get a quote and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com.
Talking to David Lee Roth, man, talking about pro wrestling. He's a big fan. I would have never known it. Someone tweeted me a link to the Roth Show, and I checked out episode 15 and 16 and was blown away to see one of the guys that I looked up to, one of my favorite bands, Van Halen, and speaking specifically about David Lee Roth and his take on the business of professional wrestling. It was awesome. I suggest you check it out yourself with your own eyes and ears. Dave, we're talking a little bit about wrestling. I got to talk to you about music. I've been there and did that in my world. I want to get into your world.
What part of the world do you want to get into?
I want to start with this.
It's a dangerous part of town.
Dude, I love...
Come down here after dark.
I dig danger the most. I got my dog with me. I know you got your dog over there. We're both safe as long as we got a little animal protection. Hey, man, talk about... You looked at yourself as being, more than a musician. You said you were an entertainer. You put smiles on people's faces. But let's talk about the physicality of what you used to do. All the high kicks, all the 360s. The martial arts stuff, the splits, running around on stage. Now, you had to crash and burn a few times. Sometimes in a performance, maybe you went out. Well, first of all, you tell me, what was your prep before you went on stage to loosen up to do all this?
Well, I started the martial arts. I didn't have much choice in that when I was 9 years old.
Why didn't you have a choice?
10 years old. It was part of the family.
Gotcha.
All my family's been in the military, etc. And I started in that mode of thinking when I was a real little kid and never really stopped it. So, you know, we talk about what's the prep. It's not just for the show. There's always been a parallel kind of a thing here, you know, sort of like Jack Johnson as a surfer, and it's hard to tell if he's a surfer / musician or a musician / surfer, and even he would have trouble answering that on a given day. Let's ask Jimmy Buffett. Are you a musician / sailor or sailor / he'll struggle with that answer depending on whatever. And right up to this phone call, I still have maintained that parallel existence. That being said, even on days off, you're stretching, as you know. Even on days off, you got to keep the engines humming, you know. There's always been a little bit of attention, you know, even in my wildest party times, my craziest, hey, let's stay up for 3 days in a row kind of times. Then there was always a little bit of a balance to that. And getting ready for a given show is still the same, hasn't changed much. It's about an hour and a half. And I used to say 3 sides of a cassette tape because you'd know exactly how long that was. We don't use those anymore.
No, we don't.
We're back on the wristwatch. It's an hour and a half again. And whatever's on the iPod. And it's long and slow, easy to go.
Right.
And, you know, the practice for that stuff is year-round. We never stop. The Van Halens, I wouldn't be surprised if they're up there rehearsing now. And I don't mean, you know, in terms of, hey, dude, we're always childless. No, they really have a work ethic that we don't talk about.
But I've heard you mention that before.
It's not fun to talk about.
I know, but I've heard you mention that before about the work ethic. Dude, do you guys really practice that damn much?
Yeah, and it's not fun to talk about because it's not part of the sailboat dream. You know, it's not part of the wild and crazy, wild west.
That's not the glitz and glamour of it.
Unburdened of responsibility and live like a pirate. So we don't really talk about it. We are guilty of the sin of omission. Okay, but the Van Halens are up there 3 and 4 nights a week religiously. Their father was a professional musician who took it arch seriously. He was no fuck around. And, you know, my father was a surgeon. So, you know, neither of those pursuits are things that you leave for any length of time. You follow? Mm-hmm. You can't. You'll lose your chops. Those are perishable skills like, I don't know, like gun handling or wrestling. If you don't, you get rusty and...
Agreed. I got you.
Not up to speed there.
Yeah.
So you got to stay with it.
But back in the day when you guys were on the road, touring behind an album, or now on the reunion stuff, coming off the stage, for me, coming out of that ring, whether I went out there and I did 15, 30, 35, whatever, and we were working every single night, sold out everywhere, man, you're high when you come back from that ring, you know, and I'm not talking about booze, drugs, I'm talking about high. That's that adrenaline high. That's a performance high. When you come off that stage, how long would it just take you to come down and get your feet back on the ground? You know what I'm saying? Because it's just a blast to be in front of that crowd. Was it the same for you, but just in a musical spectrum?
Oh, yeah. It takes about 4 hours. I'm going to say 5 hours.
Yeah.
And particularly Alex and myself still. We laugh about it on the phone because, you know, I can call him up at 3 in the morning and go, how you doing? Are you watching this? Because we'll be somewhere there's only one channel of television, Estonia or something. Yeah. And the other guys fall asleep. Guitar players, God bless them. They work hard. Let's not demonize their efforts at all. But it's fingers.
Yeah.
And
fingers.
I'm gonna add you in with me and the drummer here, Steve.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm with you, brother.
What we do is blue collar. We break a sweat before the first chorus, thank you, and we hold it for hours sometimes. And, you know, we are nothing but heart rate and lungs when all is said and done. When I die, they're going to have to beat my lungs into submission with a bat to follow suit. That's what it really... What's it take, Dave? Lungs. and Al is the same thing. You know, it's and you get such an adrenaline high, such an whatever the enes are, and dopamines,
right? Yeah.
Whatever those are, you know, and it is rock solid addictive. Man, it's unbelievably addictive.
If you could put that in a bottle and sell it, yeah.
Well, that's why you get folks who fight through their injuries.
Yeah.
You had to do it. I've done it, too, where you go, yeah, I got to do it for a living. Yeah, I got to do it for the income and the mortgage and everything. But when all is said and done, you still do it because it still feels so good. And it's still such a charge.
Hey, back in the day, I was watching a lot of stuff on you. I know you were a Jack Daniels guy, as you said in one of your interviews. Maybe you were, maybe you weren't. I was a Crown Royal guy. Man, dude, was that your drink of choice? Were you a whiskey guy?
Frank Sinatra always drank Jack Daniels and Coke. And Hugh Hefner drank Jack Daniels and Coke. You want me to keep going? Miles Davis drank it. And the best ads, again, I was just turning on to what girls meant. How the fuck old was I? I was third grade or something. I knew they were important. And all the best-looking dames were in booze ads. Bowls, gin, and, Grant's, scotch, and, and all of these kinds of things. And all the best guys, like the Rat Pack, they were drinking Jack and Coke. So there was always a little bit of Rat Pack, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., and that was their drink. So, I'm not so much a fan of that music. I'm big band, etc. I'm not really a fan of that kind of style of music. But the lifestyle, hey, I'll take a little of that. Weekend in Vegas? Are you kidding? Shit, I get to hang out with her and wear a tuxedo for 2 days and 2 nights. You fucking bet I'm on the plane. And what are we drinking? Jack and Coke. This is pretty good. And I figured out why. Jack Daniels is a little bit tart compared to, for example, we love single malt scotch, but that's like caramel. It's candy. That's adult candy bar. And you can only eat so much of that. There's the slip right there. Eat it. It's because it's so rich and full of sugar that, man, you're going to fall asleep pretty quick. You dig? Especially if you're even slightly sugar sensitive. And Jack Daniels, it's a little bit tart, could use a little more sugar, but you can drink that if you pace yourself, like a bicycle racer who puts a 5-pound bag of M&Ms in that pocket in the back of their tunic, and then they eat 1 M&M per every 2 kilometers for the whole race. Well, you can do that with Jack Daniels, Steve.
I was always in a hurry to get to the bottom of the bottle, but talking about the Jack Daniels, life on the road.
No. You want to be in a hurry to get to the bottom of the weekend. That means 48 hours. Stretch your coffee break.
Stretch my coffee break.
Your buzz.
I was doing something wrong. It worked out for me, okay? Hey, you mentioned a while ago, you were talking about something, you guys were on the road. You picked up the phone and called Eddie. Man, with all the highs and lows that you guys have been through, the high spots and low spots, man, how's that connection these days? Are you guys the best of friends? Are you business partners? How does that go? Because you guys, back the original Van Halen lineup, 4 dynamic human beings, individual personalities, egos, and as you said in an interview, that's a very delicate relationship. You never know the life of a band. But when you pick up that phone in these days and call Eddie specifically, how's the friendship?
Well, these are very clear thoughts. And let me kind of approach it from a poetic standpoint. What makes a rock star? Well, what makes a superstar in any real pursuit? In your end of show business, which includes acting as well as sport and all in between. Let's throw in politics.
Right.
You can be a rock star politician. There's a number of public pursuits, but we'll call it rock star. What does it take to be a rock star? What do you think? Well, it's no fair. I've had a chance to think of the answer. It takes confidence. Has nothing to do with your bank account or your haircut. You dig? Anybody who says it's the haircut, I'm going to point to Elton John and go, he didn't even have one.
Yeah.
That's a fucking rock star. Okay?
Yeah.
Somebody says it's the wardrobe. I'm going to point to Springsteen and go, he didn't have one.
Right. Got you.
28 pairs of black 501 boot cuts. That's not a wardrobe, Steve.
Yeah, I got you. I'm with you, dude. Keep going. It's confidence.
It's confidence is what it is. It's confidence. and you can't fake it.
Right.
You know, the rest of us will sniff it out like a bloodhound.
See right through
you. Yep, you can't pretend it, can't fool us, especially us classic rockers who've been around rock bands and celebrity types as a way of life since we were teenagers. You know, we're used to it. We can sniff it out, and it's fun to sniff it out. We learned how to sniff it out from Mad Magazine, remember?
Right.
Pick out the fake in the room and have a hilarious good time making fun of the fake. Yeah, that's an American good pastime. Well, with that in mind, you either got it or you don't. Where that comes from, that's a whole nother thought and a half, okay? The Van Halen brothers and I, the three of us, have that confidence. It's not magic where it comes from. It's not you're born with it. It's not, you know, I think it's a product of your conditioning that starts when you're an infant. A whole lot of it is just lucky. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
If you're genetically able to absorb it, that's just luck. And that doesn't mean just one kind of genetics. Do you follow?
Yeah.
But you know...
See, my problem,
have
though...
that confidence. And it's that confidence that bangs up against each other, because usually in a rock band or any other kind of an arrangement, there's only one guy who has that confidence. Usually there's only one alpha guy who really is convinced that he knows the answer. Do you follow my reasoning?
I'm with you. That's you, right?
And, well, I'm convinced of it, yeah.
Right.
And
was Eddie?
Convinced of it, so's Alex. And that's pretty rare. Usually in one band, you got one, maybe two guys.
Right.
You know, and who are, you know, figured that they have that confidence. And that confidence comes from literally 10,000 hours of practice and repetition and worldly experience and then education. You got to have both. You know, with experience, you take the test and then learn the lesson. And with education, you learn the lesson, then take the test. And you got to get both.
But with that confidence, both of you guys still remain good friends with all the highs and lows. See, my problem is, man, when somebody pisses me off, when I feel like I've been wronged, or maybe I was wrong, or there's a combination thereof, I'm one of those cats, I get this from my mother. I hold a grudge like a sumbitch. I mean, and then once things have gone bad, they will never be better. And you guys certainly had some bad times. I don't want to harp on those, but I'm just, you know, how are you able to work through that dynamic when you got to be a cohesive unit and spend so much time together?
Well, consider the type of music that this is, okay? And I'm even going to adopt a little bit of the tone of voice theatrically so that you don't even have to really speak English to know what I'm talking about here. Is that Van Halen music isn't the friendliest music on the block. You dig? And that there's an undercurrent of humor that all the best pirates and Hell's Angels have. They smile while they do you. You've been on the receiving end of some very big, very unhappy people. I have too.
Yeah.
and they're a fucking cynical bunch of pirate fucks, a lot of them. And they laugh evilly. You follow?
Yeah.
And with Van Halen, you can turn the sound off. You can't tell, is this humor or is this drama?
David Lee Roth, I appreciate you coming on the show.
Hey, don't forget to rate and review the Steve Austin Show on Apple Podcasts. Tell your friends to check us out. If you want to reach me here on the podcast, send an email to questions@steveaustinShow.com. The best IPA on planet Earth is Broken Skull IPA from El Segundo Brewing Company. You can find Broken Skull IPA at Whole Foods, Total Wines, and if you live in California, it's all over California, north and south. If you're not in Cali, check out ElSegundoBrewing.com because we might just be headed your way. Click on Broken Skull IPA, an interactive map will pop up, and you will be able to see where it's available nearest you. I want to thank Texas, my home state, for all the overwhelming support as we just made our way into the Texas region. And I'm so proud of this beer and happy to be sharing it with all the people that supported me throughout my career. To all you light beer drinkers, this is a different flavor. This is an IPA. It took me about 1.5 years to work up to this level, and I love this beer, and I'm really proud of it. So thank you once again, everybody across the United States, for all of your support as we continue to grow and continue to expand. I want to say one more thank you to all the fine sponsors of the Steve Austin Show: especially BetOnline, Geico, Scott's, and ZipRecruiter. That's how I'm able to do this podcast for you twice a week for free. Please support them because they support us. And if you need more info, check out the show description to this episode for details. To those out there all across the world, coronavirus is out there. Hey, man, be cool. Keep your head about you. Wash your hands. And don't wig out. Things going to be cool. Everybody got to be strong, stay strong, and we're going to ride this out until the waves end and we're back on track. I ain't a doctor. I never claimed to be one. I drank a lot of beer on TV, and I whipped a lot of people's asses on TV inside a 20 by 20 squared circle. All this shit will pass. Hey, man, until next time, my name is Steve Austin, and I will catch your ass down the road.
Thank you for joining us for another classic episode of The Steve Austin Show. Please leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and tell your friends. For more Steve Austin Show, go to PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.
From the creators of Cold Case Files and PD Stories comes the next great true crime podcast, I Survived. Every week, I Survived presents chilling first-person accounts from people who overcame deadly situations, allowing the survivors to describe the events as they unfolded and how they made it out alive. If you love true crime, you're going to love I Survived. Be sure to subscribe on Spotify, PodcastOne.com, Apple Podcasts, and many other podcast apps so you can get new episodes every week.